Hey guys, welcome back to the Fantasy Line. And on this episode, we got a lot to get into today. We're gonna go over some studs of week 3, some duds of week 3, and then we're gonna go over some contenders or pretenders. So let's just get right into it. My first stud of week 3, my guy David Montgomery, goes out there, has 23 carries, 105 rushing yards, 3 targets, 3 receptions, 17 yards, 21 points, and just balled out. He looked great today. I mean, we saw what the Lions want to do. I mean, Gibbs also had a good game. Montgomery goes over there, has over 100 rushing yards. And I think he's an RB2 every week, going every week forward because he's basically guaranteed a touchdown. What do you guys think about Montgomery?
Yeah, man. I mean, we see this week in and week out. First drive, it's Dave Montgomery. And most of the time on that first drive, Dave Montgomery scores a touchdown. This is now back-to-back weeks with that happening. And, you know, it goes Dave Montgomery and then it goes Jahmyr Gibbs. And then they like kind of rotate back and forth, ping pong until, you know, one of them, they both are on the field like 50% of the time. But Dave Montgomery played 51% of the snaps. So that's exactly half of the snaps. And yeah, he's just great. He's just solid, man. He's just going to be a constant workhorse for your team. He's going to constantly score you like 15 points a game because he's always going to get a touchdown. So, I like Dave Montgomery as well. So.
Yeah, I think Dan Montgomery's good. He's a solid, RB2, RB1, like rest of the season, if he stays healthy. This offense is really good. I would say, like, his offensive line is really good. And Montgomery, like, he leads this team in carries so far and touchdowns, too, rushing touchdowns. So, I mean, Montgomery, again, always a solid week, always a starter for your fantasy team.
Yeah, I agree. I think David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs complement each other great. Jahmyr Gibbs more the passing down, Montgomery more the rushing. But I mean, Montgomery had like 100 rushing yards, Gibbs had 80 rushing yards. They both look good. We see what Dan Campbell wants to do. And then just a quick question: would you guys rather have David Montgomery or Aaron Jones the rest of the season?
I'm just gonna go with Dave Montgomery personally. Although Aaron Jones balled out this week, I am just a Dave Montgomery guy. I had Dave Montgomery last year. I have Dave Montgomery in a couple leagues this year. And I'm just going to take that consistency 100% of the time. Like, he's going to get you 15 points pretty much every single game. And I'm taking that over Aaron Jones, who could go out there and score like 8 points. What do you think, Isaiah?
Yeah, I think I lead towards Montgomery. I like Gibbs. I mean, I've had Gibbs the last 2 years. I'm a Gibbs fan. I prefer Gibbs over Montgomery, but Montgomery, like, I'm not. I think I'll take Montgomery easily over Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I agree with Montgomery. Speaking of him, my next stud, Aaron Jones. He has 19 carries, 102 yards, 6 targets, 5 receptions, and a touchdown. He has 25 points. I mean, the Vikings look great. Aaron Jones led this team. Aaron Jones and Justin Jefferson. What do you guys think about Aaron Jones and this Vikings offense?
The Vikings have just beaten the Niners and the Texans in back-to-back games, which, were like thought of as both top 10 teams in the league. So the Vikings are legit, man. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on, but I think the Vikings are a really solid team, being led by Sam Darnold, who's playing some of the best football of his career right now. But when it comes to Aaron Jones, this is his second time, cracking into like the top 10 running backs on any given week. He was an RB9 week 1. This week's the RB6. This is just a Aaron Jones game. Having 6 targets in back-to-back games is something you really like to see for PPR formats. He's playing 60% of the snaps, which is good. That's so he doesn't get hurt. He is an older running back. Aaron Jones is good. RB2 moving forward. Any thoughts, Isaiah?
Yeah, I like Aaron Jones. I think he's fine. Like, he's kind of like the veteran, the old head in the backfield, and he's getting the work. Like, I would say, start him. He's been playing good so far. So I think he's worth a start. He's a stud right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think with this Vikings offense looking great, he's a every week RB2. Just a quick trade scenario: would you guys rather have Aaron Jones and Mike Evans or Nico Collins?
I personally am taking the better player. And I never mind. I'm going Aaron Jones and Mike Evans. I take that back. I'm going Aaron Jones and Mike Evans. I think Mike
If
Evans
I
is
need an RB, yeah. So if I need RB, I would go with Aaron Jones. I mean, it's not saying he's solid. He's not like a top tier RB. But like he's been putting up points. I think you're gonna have those down weeks with Aaron Jones. But I think I'd go if I need a running back. I think I'd go with Mike Evans and Aaron Jones. I think Mike Evans is also going to bounce back. Mike Evans is going to bounce back. He's a Hall of Famer. He's
Yeah, I agree. Just throwing that out there because that's a trade I'm thinking about making in the future. My next stud, Brock Purdy, throws for 292 pass yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 10 rush attempts for 41 yards and a fumble. He has 27 points. I know the Niners didn't win, but Purdy looked good. What do you guys think about Purdy?
Yeah, I mean, everyone saw. We're gonna talk about him later, but Juwan Jennings absolutely balled out in this game, and he was Purdy's number 1 option throughout the entire game. The Niners really, really fell off in the second half in this game. It looked like they were going to run away with this, and then just some bad overall play led to them ended up losing this game. But I mean, Purdy going forward, if he can put up 30 fantasy points without his top 3 options in Debo, Kittle, and McCaffrey, then I think he's going to be solid and he's going to be perfectly fine as a top 10 quarterback moving forward. And we saw him finish as the quarterback 6 last year. So I don't see any reason to say why he's not going to finish in the top 10 this year.
Yeah, I think Purdy's a stud. Purdy was like the only, besides Juwan Jennings, Purdy was like a bright side of this team. Like he just threw Juwan Jennings popped off without Debo, without Kittle. McCaffrey isn't there. Ayuk, we'll get into Ayuk later. But Purdy has been playing, even last game, Purdy's been playing pretty good football without, the main stars and them losing. So I think Brock Purdy's fine. I like Brock. Brock Purdy also would have had more yards if he didn't have 6 drops. Mm-hmm. There was the one to Ronnie Bell, which was like a 30, 40-yard pass that Ronnie Bell dropped. So I think Purdy could have even had a better game without those drops. I was looking at it earlier. He had 8 incompletions, and 6 of them were drops. So, if they weren't dropped, Brock Purdy throws a perfect game. So, I think Brock Purdy's a stud.
Sorry, I was going to say, I also think that with the Niners losing both of these games, they are going to try to get these dudes back faster, maybe. Like, if they're 3-0, I think that they're going to wait a little bit longer on CMC. But with them being 1-2, I think they're really going to have to push this, these comeback for these players. Obviously, it's going to depend on their timeline, but I think that they're really going to try to get those guys out there because, they're trying to win a Super Bowl this year. This is their window, and I think they're going to have to get these guys back if they want to start winning these games. So,
I think CMC's out. CMC just went to a specialist today, I believe, in Germany. So, I don't know what's going on with Christian McCaffrey. I feel like he might be longer. He'd be out longer than what we expected him to be out for, which that could not be good for the Niners. Or he's going to come back with some magical potion that heals his Achilles tendonitis.
Some Aaron Rodgers type stuff out there.
Yeah, so we don't know what the special is going to say. So I don't really know. I think Jordan Mason played fine too this game. So I don't feel like the need to rush any players back. I think that our healthy defense, got cooked by the Rams without Puka and Cup, which is crazy.
Yeah, I think we will try to get Debo and Kittle back on the field. Maybe not McCaffrey as fast. But yeah, I think Purdy's in top 10 quarterback going forward every week. Speaking about the Niners, Juwan Jennings, my next stud, 12 targets, 11 receptions, 175 yards, 3 touchdowns, 45 points. Wide receiver 1 on the week. I don't know why we paid Brandon Ayuk going into this year's $30 million. Juwan Jennings is who we should have paid. We did pay him, just not as much as Brandon Ayuk, clearly. But he caught everything. He was great. Purdy and Juwan Jennings were the only offense in this game, pretty much. What do you guys think about Jennings?
Dude, Jennings looked like prime Randy Moss on the field. It's like every time the ball was thrown to him, he was just jumping over dudes and catching it on their helmet. We have never seen this, honestly, from Juwan Jennings. I've never seen this.
Super Bowl.
Except for maybe except for maybe in the Super Bowl where he also threw a touchdown. But this could be this is just another repertoire for the Niners receiving core. Moving forward, obviously they're going to get Debo and Kittle back. So I don't know if Jennings is going to be as involved. I think he's going to go back to his just role player. He's just a solid role player for this team in general. But yeah, man, if you started him, congrats, man, because you definitely won your week if you started him.
Yeah, I agree with Joe. Jennings is just like a role player, especially when once Kittle comes back or Debo, whoever comes back first, like he's going to take a backseat to them, I believe, at that point. But if Ayuk keeps playing the way Ayuk's playing lately, I can see Juan Jennings getting more reps at the Ayuk spot because Ayuk's been so bad.
So bad.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
bad.
it looks like Juwan Jennings earned his minutes that last game. There's no way Kyle Shanahan's not going to get him on the field more. Doing something like that, even with Kittle and Debo back, I think he's going to be the number one waiver ad in everyone's league this week, not with the uncertainty of the Niners' overall players. Yeah, I mean, that's on Juwan Jennings. And my next stud, the most exciting stud to talk about in this episode, Amari Cooper, 12 targets, 7 receptions, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns, 27 fantasy points. I mean, this is exactly what I thought all year was going to happen with Amari Cooper. He goes out there, has the targets again, but this game he has the numbers as well to back it up. More catchable targets. I mean, the Browns still look bad. They lost to the Giants. But, I mean, fantasy-wise, Amari Cooper looks out there, look good, especially with his name possibly on the trading block with the Browns. Yeah, I think he's going to go out there and try to ball out and have the best season he can, because we never know when he's going to get traded. What do you guys think about Amari Cooper?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys tuned in last week, one of our believer elite players was actually Amari Cooper. And I was saying I'm believing in Amari Cooper moving forward. And this is just proof for my belief, man. He came out and had 12 targets. Like I said, targets are earned, man. And he got it in this game. The first touchdown of the day was an Amari Cooper sideline catch in the back of the end zone, which is just a great catch. So, yeah, man, he's just a solid receiver. I still believe in his talent, like I was saying before. And he did get banged up in this game a little bit. They're saying it right now. They're calling it an undisclosed injury from what I'm reading right now. But I think he's going to be fine. And, yeah, man, he's just going to be a plug-and-play wide receiver, too, moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that Amari Cooper wants to get traded. I've said that last week, too, before the reports even came out, saying that he could possibly be traded. And I think this was kind of one of those games where it was like, let's boost his value up a little bit before we trade him. I think I can see the Browns trading him before the trade deadline. There's so many teams that need a wide receiver that I can see Amari Cooper get traded. But I think Amari Cooper's fine. He's say he's RB or wide receiver 2, or like a flex play. I'm not as high. I mean, I do like him, but he had a good game.
I mean, I just love to see it. And I think going into this next week 4, Amari Cooper will finish as a wide receiver 1, going up against the Raiders. I mean, we just saw what Deontay Johnson did with Andy Dalton, look great. But as long as Deshaun Watson, I mean, Amari Cooper just shown he can actually catch the ball. This is the first week he was able to catch his passes, which was huge. But I feel like this gained a little more trust with Watson. And I think going up against this Raiders' awful secondary, I think we're going to see a wide receiver 1. So I think he will finish as top 10 receiver going into this week.
I mean, if you look at next week, he's got Washington. So
Washington. Oh, that's even better.
That's even better.
No, he is the Raiders because the Cardinals have Washington.
After that is Washington.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. The next 2 weeks,
back-to-back weeks of top 10 production right there.
Yeah. I'm just gonna throw out a quick question. Amari Cooper or Brandon Ayuk rest of the season?
Dang, that's hard. Why is that hard?
I'm ride or die with my guy.
Dude, that should not
yards. Amari Cooper.
Just based off of like draft position and situation, this should not be as hard as it is, which just goes to speak with how bad Ayuk has been playing. But I'm gonna say Amari Cooper because he could get traded to a good team, and even right now he's playing good. So,
I want to ride with Ayuk. They just paid him. He's getting the targets. He's getting everything. It's just he has to. Yeah, he can't catch. I think he is going to figure it out, and he's gonna go nuclear one of these games. I'm just gonna say I'll stick with Ayuk. There's no way he doesn't figure it out.
Yeah, I'm just riding with Cooper just because these next 2 matchups are absolutely beautiful. If you draft Kings, I'm putting him in the lineups.
Even this next matchup is the Eagles. that's a great matchup as well. That's 3
Yeah.
matchups in a row of Amari Cooper going to just go off, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Do
man.
you think for the Browns that the offensive line? I mean, like we've seen, like Deshaun Watson got sacked 8 times last game. Like, I don't know really if it's Deshaun Watson's fault or the offensive. I mean, 8 times is a ton of times. I feel like. Do you guys feel like it's majority like Watson playing bad just because he's playing bad, or you think it's the offensive line is just playing terrible, or you think it's like a mixture of both?
I would say it's a mixture of both. Deshaun Watson, I still don't think Deshaun Watson has it figured out. He still kind of looks a little lost out there after this game. I mean, he could force feed the ball to Amari Cooper as much as he wants. I'm going to take that, but I still don't think Deshaun Watson looks good to say anything really. And this offensive line just kind of got blown up by the Giants. Obviously, they got Thibodeau, and they got some solid
Dexter
pieces
Lawrence.
on that. Yeah, they got some solid pieces on that line. So that's a pretty solid defensive line, but overall, I think it's a mix of both.
Yeah, I think he still needs time to gel. I mean, we haven't seen a full season out of Watson yet. I mean, he injured last season, just started off. Also, I think I'm not sure Nick Chubb's timetable to return, but I think when Nick Chubb returns, it will actually greatly help this Browns offense, and it will help Amari Cooper because Chubb defense is going to focus on Chubb and probably leave Amari Cooper out by himself more. But
I mean, like, honestly, how much leeway do we give Deshaun Watson? Like, let's say it's week 7 and he's still doing the same thing. Are we still going to be believing, or are we going to be like, he's washed, man? Like, what point are we going to say he's washed?
I think the Browns win these next 2 matchups against the Raiders and against Washington. So I think they'll go out there, get 2 wins, get a little bit of confidence under their belt, and then lose to Philadelphia. But I feel like there could be a chance against Philadelphia, depending on if Watson figures it out against a horrible Washington secondary. Like, oh, I could actually throw the ball. But
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. In my opinion, if Deshaun Watson doesn't look good, like he doesn't pass the eye test, because he hasn't even passed the eye test yet. He just looks bad, man. He just doesn't look good. If he doesn't look good these next couple of weeks, then I don't know, man. I'm not really into it.
Deshaun Watson is the most sacked QB with 16 sacks through 3 games.
Yeah,
Sacks.
definitely to help him.
Like, and up there with him is Will Levis, who, I mean, Will Levis he's a man of his own. He's a different breed. And then Baker Mayfield and Caleb Williams. So, like, yeah, I think the offensive line is probably playing a big role. I can't see.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's helping them out whatsoever, but I think that Deshaun Watson, I think there's a chance he's not as bad as he's looking currently. Does that make sense?
I can see that. I can see it, but I need to actually see it.
I'm still a believer in Deshaun Watson.
In 3 games. That's a ton of sacks.
Yeah, I'm still a believer in Watson, but moving on to Joe's stud players.
Yeah, man. So starting off, got a couple running backs here. We're starting off with the king, Derrick Henry. Just having a classic Derrick Henry game, going 25 for 151 rushing yards. He also has a reception for 23 yards. He also has 2 rushing touchdowns. This was just honestly just a dominant performance from Derrick Henry. He was running through this Dallas defense like it was like soft butter. It was insane. Every run you saw this man have was 10 plus yards. He looked great out there. Harbaugh came out and saying, like, we're not going to give Henry 30 attempts a game. I mean, he just gave him 25, but it was a game where they were blowing them out, and then all of a sudden the Cowboys get an onside kick and they make it a close game. So yeah, and Derrick Henry in wins, this man goes crazy. We saw for the last couple of years, honestly, his whole career, if his team is going to win and his team's going to put up a lot of points and have a lead, he is going to feast. He's going to go crazy on the defense, and he's going to be a top 5 running back. And we saw it today. Like, this was just we've known what Derrick Henry is, and we knew this was a possibility. The offensive line looked a lot better, but this Cowboys defense also is the worst defense against the run. So they just suck when it comes to running the ball. So yeah, what do you guys think about Derrick Henry this week?
It was just their scheme was straight run the ball. Like the Ravens ran the ball 45 out of their 60 plays. That's a lot of running plays, and the run game was working phenomenally. Like Lamar Jackson ran the ball well. Henry especially ran the ball well. And so I think this scheme, like for this game versus the Dallas Cowboys, they schemed it up right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Lamar looked like an MVP out there. Just if you watch that game, he got it done. He didn't even have to pass the ball, but on the ground, he looked great. I mean, Henry goes out there and just absolutely kills it. He looks great too. And yeah, I'm happy if I have Henry on my fantasy team.
Definitely. I got a quick question for you guys. Rest of season wise, would rather have Derrick Henry or James Cook?
Derrick Henry. I feel like I get Derrick Henry.
I go James Cook.
James Cook, yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. If you're playing in PPR, I'm going James Cook. I mean, James Cook just had a great game tonight, having 4 targets, 4 receptions. But yeah, man, it's hard to pass up on Derrick Henry right now. Moving on. We got Jonathan Taylor, the only bright spot of my fantasy team this week. And he comes out there and he goes 23 for 110 with 2 touchdowns. He's got a catch for 25 yards. He puts up 26 fantasy points. This was a great game from Jonathan Taylor. He was getting everything in the backfield. We saw Trey Sermon made me really mad. Trey Sermon coming in for 3 plays, ending up scoring a touchdown. That was really annoying for JT owners. He could have easily had 3 touchdowns in the game. He got a big run. He had 2 back-to-back big plays of 20 yards, and then they pulled him out for 3 plays, and it ended up being a Trey Sermon touchdown. So that could have been even a bigger game for Jonathan Taylor. But yeah, I mean, he is that workhorse running back on the Colts. The Colts offensive line is still, good. Quentin Nelson, all the guys up there. Yeah, I mean, it's Jonathan Taylor. I'm not really surprised with this performance. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think the Colts look good. Let me take that back. Jonathan Taylor looked good running the ball.
Yeah.
I'm not getting too much in the Colts, but yeah, I mean, I'm happy about Jonathan Taylor. I mean, we see what the Colts want to do. The good old line, run the ball. But yeah, I think he balled out this week.
I think the Colts are about to start running the ball a lot more. We'll get into Anthony Richardson later on. But I think Jonathan Taylor's a beast. I like Jonathan Taylor coming into this year. I liked him last year. I mean, I know he had the issues last year too. But I think Jonathan Taylor's a stud. And he is the focal point of this offense. So I feel like he's gonna get a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him back to 100-yard games. I think it's just gonna consistently be like upside of 150 yards per week and 2 touchdowns like we saw in this game. But yeah, man, just Jonathan Taylor. We're not really surprised with that. Moving on to another one of the dudes I've been talking a lot about on this podcast, and it's Malik Neighbors, dude. This man cannot be stopped. He goes out there. He goes 8 for 78 with 2 touchdowns on 12 targets. And like I said before, this man is so good at football. Like, he just looks so good on the field. And I mean, come on, man. We all saw the 2 touchdowns, and he was just running through this defense like it was butter, man. I love Malik Neighbors, and personally, I'm ranking Malik Neighbors as a top 12 guy moving forward. And I don't even think that's crazy to say, personally. I think Malik Neighbors is just so good, and he's getting so many targets. 30 targets in the last 2 games, 30 targets. I mean, you can't ask for anything better than that, guys. What do you guys think?
I like Neighbors. I mean, there's always been a conversation between Neighbors. You're a Neighbors guy. I'm a Harrison guy.
Yep.
So it's gonna be a good duel. They both had good weeks, solid weeks. Neighbors had a better week. I like Neighbors a lot. I know I don't know what he had the 2 touchdowns in the first half, and they kind of got shut down in the second half. I don't really know if he caught a ball in the second half or not. But that first half, it looked like he was about to have an absolute day versus the Browns. But it kind of slowed down. But I don't think your take is that far off, I would say. I mean, honestly, like I think he finished probably top 15. I'd say top 15, top 12. I think that's a good take. He's the only him and Singletary seems to be again doing good, but Daniel Jones is going to save his career by throwing it to Malik Neighbors.
Yep.
So I think Malik Neighbors is good. I like him.
Yeah, I can't disagree with Joseph as Neighbors finishing as a top 12. I think I was wrong about these rookies. I mean, he goes out there and he's single-handedly saving Daniel Jones's career as a New York Giant just with these catches. I mean, if you saw his back of the end zone catch or his Moss catch on the sideline for like 30 yards, he's looking like Jamar Chase's rookie year, literally like a clone of Chase, and he's getting the volume and he can catch the ball. So, I mean, that's all you can want. And, yeah, I think he's a wide receiver one going forward just with what he's doing. Even on this bad Giants offense, I think he's going to get a lot of targets.
100%.
All right, this question,
yeah, go on.
This question's for Alex. Because I know, Joe, you're on Neighbors. I'm on Harrison. I'm going to give you Harrison's stats, and let's see who you go with this week going into this next week. Maybe this may be a weekly question we ask each other, Neighbors or Harrison. Harrison had 64 yards, 5 catches, 11 targets, and 1 catch this last game. One touchdown, yeah. Who currently are you having rest of the season?
Rest of the season on my team? You know, I'm mixed. I told myself I was going to go with Neighbors after this week. I was so wrong. But I don't think I can get away from Marvin Harrison. I mean, Neighbors just looks great. But I feel like Harrison, he still went out there and had 11 targets. He was like 6 receptions, 74 yards and a touchdown, something like that.
64 and 5 catches. 5 catches, 64 yards and a touchdown, yeah.
Yeah, close. Yeah, I'm torn. I'm like 51-49. I'd probably
have to 17 points. I think that
was I feel like I would lean towards Marv still. If Neighbors goes out there and puts up another 30-point week, yeah, I'm on Neighbors. But I feel like I'm just still just my trust in Kyler. Yeah. I
mean, I was gonna say like the best wide receiver prospect of all time in Marvin Harrison was only drafted 2 picks before Malik Neighbors. That's just no one really. Everyone's like, oh, Marvin Harrison this, Marvin Harrison that. No one really talked about Malik Neighbors as being the 6th overall pick.
No, he was talked about. I mean,
but Marvin Harris was talked about way more. Marvin Harris was talked about way more.
He's the prodigy. I mean, I think there's a lot more room to grow for both wide receivers. I think especially Harris and Murray. I feel like some of the throws have been like, all right, Murray throws into spot, like Harrison can have more yards. But
I think they're also different types of receivers. I think Harrison profiles more as like a D-hop. And I think Neighbors profiles more as like that Jamar Chase kind of like deep threat. I mean, obviously Harrison's a deep threat too, but I just think that they're different profiles of wide receivers when they're on the field. But that they're still both great players. But I'm taking Neighbors. So
it's a good discussion that we're gonna have all year.
Yeah, we're gonna have that all year. We'll do a Neighbors Marv update, and right now Neighbors is killing him as the wide receiver one in all formats. So moving on, we got tight end 1, Dallas Goedert, to shock everyone. Comes out, he has 10 receptions for 170 yards and 11 targets. He had like 3 just massive plays of like 45 plus yards in this game. He had like a 40-yard catch, then he had a 30-yard catch, and then he had a 60-yard catch. So that's 130 of his 170 yards right there. But I mean, we can see that when they don't have AJ Brown and when Devontae Smith gets banged up, that we are going to have Dallas Goedert explosions. I don't think this is going to be a thing where Dallas Goedert is going to be that top elite tight end moving forward. But I mean, it's good to see tight ends have been really bad. So seeing a tight end come out and do something good is just good to see in general. What do you guys think about Dallas Goedert?
I like him. I mean, Smith got hurt. Knocked out.
Yeah.
And that third quarter. And AJ Brown's out. But I think I always thought Goddard was just a solid tight end. Like if he got the opportunities, like he'd be a solid tight end. I think this kind of he was given opportunities and he showed out. I like Dallas Goedert. I think he's how all tight ends are playing right now. I think if Brown or Smith are out, I think Goddard's an easy, starting tight end.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Yeah, I think just for this next week, I feel like he's going to finish the top 5 tight end just because I think AJ Brown's still going to be out this next week. And I also think Devontae Smith is now going to be out this next week with his concussion. So I think Dallas Goedert's going to be the only receiving option on that team that has a connection with Jalen Hurts. I mean, we saw this last week with Goddard and Devontae Smith. Goddard just absolutely had a career day. So yeah, I think he's a top 5 tight end just for this next week, and then I feel like he's gonna fall off a little bit when AJ Brown and Devontae Smith.
Yeah, I was gonna say when they get their guys back, do you guys think Goddard's gonna be relevant? Are we starting him?
I feel like he's a top 10 tight end, probably like around 7, 8.
He could be. He could be a good start. I don't see, Kellen Moore. I think Kellen Moore likes getting his tight ends involved. We saw it, last year with Jared Everett a little bit when he played, and the year before that when he, Dalton Schultz when he had his kind of explosive year, that was with Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator. So I feel like he could have he could play. He can have those really bad weeks and those really good weeks.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that was Dallas Goedert, and then my last stud of this week was Jamar Chase, who actually played tonight, and he was another believer league player for us, and we believed, and he performed. He comes out, he goes 6 for 116 with 2 touchdowns on 7 targets. Not a whole lot of targets, but he's Jamar Chase, man. He has 2 long touchdowns in this game, and this defense just proves to be the worst defense in the entire NFL. They do come home with the Commanders do come home with a win in this game, which is surprising to say the least. I was not seeing that coming from the Commanders, but Jaden Daniels also looked great out there. He looked amazing. But Jamar Chase, we expected this. We knew this was going to happen, and he delivered. And yeah, man, it's Jamar Chase. He's going to be a top 5, top 7 receiver moving forward, in my opinion.
Yeah, Chase needed this explosive game after his last drama queen outing last week that basically cost him the game against the Chiefs. I think Chase, Chase had to break out this game. Everyone honestly suspected him to break out this game. Literally everyone was saying start Jamar Chase. So he did what he had to do. Like, this is what he should have done. This is what he had to do versus, the Commanders. The Commanders are bad.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just what you expect. I feel like it's definitely good news that he goes out there and drops 25, 30 fantasy points. But I feel like next week's really going to tell if this connection's gelling, how it's going to play out, especially T. Higgins back in the mix. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to revisit a question we had last week about Jamar Chase and just see where you guys' thoughts are. Are we going Jamar Chase or Nico Collins rest of the season?
Oh, I'm still going Nico. I think that's tough, but I feel like I would still say Nico Collins. Just because what we saw him do. I mean, he's getting the targets every week. This last week against the Vikings, the Vikings offense did not look good. Or not the Vikings offense, the Texans offense did not look good. CJ Stroud couldn't get it done. The Vikings look like a top 1 team in the NFL right now. But I think CJ Stroud and the Texans are going to bounce back. And I feel like he's basically guaranteed 100 yards a week. So, yeah, I'd probably go Nico Collins going forward.
I like Chase. I like explosive guys. I mean, I say Nico's not explosive, but Chase is more explosive than Nico. And Chase always has the opportunity to go for 60 points like he has in the past. So I think I'm more on the Chase side.
I agree. I'm going more with Chase as well. Just because we've seen it with Chase, like I was just saying, he can put up 60 points in any given week. And Nico's just going to be a solid for you. But yeah, man, those were my stud players for this week. Moving on to Isaiah's stud players.
We're going to start off with my guy. Probably the most heavily drafted guy that I have is Rashee Rice. He went 12 for 14. So he had 12 catches for 14 targets, 110 yards, 1 touchdown. He had 29 fantasy points versus the Atlanta Falcons. He is Mahomes' main guy. Even I think we've kind of known that. We've kind of suspected that he's Mahomes' main guy. Kelsey's kind of a dub, but I think this is kind of like the game where it's like, all right, this is Mahomes. This is Mahomes' go-to guy. If they need something, it's going to Rice. What do you think about Rice?
Yeah, Rice should have been drafted in the 3rd round. He just looks great out there. I think a big takeaway. I mean, Patrick Mahomes goes out there and says he's trying to get Kelsey the ball, but watching the game, 2 things came to mind. I feel like it almost felt like Mahomes and Kelsey are in like an argument where they won't get Kelsey the ball. throwing. And also, I think Kelsey's having too much fun off the field with Taylor Swift because he looks slow and just not last year's tight end one Kelsey. And Rashee Rice just looks like the guy. I mean, we see multiple plays. Mahomes, he says, just get the ball in Rashee Rice's hands. He catches, just throws out to Rice, and he runs for 15 yards. He just doesn't get tackled. So, yeah, I mean, Rashee Rice is every week wide receiver one going forward.
Dude, this is like the fantasy MVP at this moment. He's being drafted. I mean, he was going in the 6th, 7th round, and now he's the wide receiver 2 and looks to be going to stay like that. I don't think he's going to move anywhere away from the top 10. He's just so good, man. Patrick Mahomes is number 1 target. Yeah, man, I just wish I would have drafted more Rice, to be honest. So
I was on the Rice hype. That was my guy coming in. Didn't care about the suspension. He can get suspended. I don't care. He's playing like 100 miles an hour right now, so, I'm fine with that. Just keep it on the field. My next player is Kyren Williams. He had 24 carries, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions, 27 yards, and another receiving touchdown for a total of 31 fantasy points. Last week I said he was a buy. Again, everyone's hurt on this team. He did this against a healthy Niners offense or defense. The entire Niners defense was healthy, and he still put up points. He is the only guy on the Rams, I believe, as of right now, until Kupp and Puka comes back. We also learned from this game that McVay trusts him. He had like 80% of the carries. I think it's 80% of the carries in the backfield. Mahomes. This is not Mahomes. This is Sean McVay's guy. Sean McVay is going to use Kyren. Kyren might be ran into the ground, but as of right now, I think he is the guy for the Rams. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think he's a shock of the week. I mean, I've never been high on Kyren, but he just goes out there, has 89 plays, 85+% of the snaps, scores 3 touchdowns against the Niners. Yeah, he just looked great.
Yeah, man. I mean, this was like a last year game for Kyren. Like this is what he was doing on a week to week basis last year, which is why he finished with 20 plus points per game, being the only running back other than Christian McCaffrey to do that. So, I mean, moving forward, I don't think he's going to score 3 touchdowns a game, but I think he's definitely going to get a lot of work like he did in this game. As Alex mentioned, playing 80+% of the snaps, and he's going to be a RB1 moving forward. Last week, I asked the question, James Conner or Kyren Williams, and I know James Conner came out and had a really bad game against Detroit because Detroit is one of the best run-stopping defenses in the league. But looking forward, what are we thinking on that? Because we all said James Conner last week, but what do we think now?
I'd still go
Kyren.
James Conner. I think I'm still – no, I changed. I'm probably Kyren. I switched.
It's so crazy.
Because after that 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, 1 week can change your opinion. It's that fast. You know what I'm saying? I'm going Conner still, personally.
Yeah, I got to switch it up.
I'm a Conner guy.
I think their bye week 6. Like their bye week's around the corner. If Kyren survives to the bye, everyone comes back healthy. Puka might be back by after the bye. I don't think he probably will be, but Kupp, I know Kupp's already for surely missing this next game. But I think after the bye, I think that will be like, this is why people shouldn't have been scared to draft Kyren is after the bye. I feel like he's going to explode. Where he's like, or even right now, he's averaging 20 points a fantasy game. So
yeah.
I think Kyren is, solid for the rest of the year.
Yeah, definitely.
So the next running back we have is Saquon Barkley. Honestly, it kind of seems like a trend with it's kind of the year of the running backs. Saquon Barkley had 17 carries for 147 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 receptions, and 9 receiving yards. What was that for? About 30 points.
Yeah.
So, he had another good game. Everyone's hurt right now. All the receiving weapons for Hurts is hurt besides Dallas Goedert. Who else? He was on this list as well. I think with, Smith and probably A.J. Brown being hurt, that I can see, Saquon Barkley having another good game this next following week. So, what do you guys think?
He's the fantasy RB1 going forward. There's no one you rank above him. Even if McCaffrey comes back, I think he's still the RB1 in this offense. Not too much to say. I think he's the RB1.
I mean, yeah, he has 5 touchdowns in 3 games, and he's put up week 1, he was the RB1. Week 3, he was the RB1. That is elite right there. In week 2, he was the RB9. So he's never not been a top 10 running back with the Eagles. He's playing 80 to 90% of the snaps, and he's averaging like 6 yards a touch right now, which is just absolutely insane. We all saw his 65-yard touchdown run he had in this game. He still looks explosive. He still looks like Saquon Barkley of old. And yeah, I kind of agree with Alex. I think that I have a question. If we were to redraft, where are you taking Saquon?
He's probably the first pick.
Right? Are we taking Saquon? Yeah. Are we taking Saquon over like CD Lamb or
I'm taking
Saquon
over everyone. I would take Saquon over everyone. I feel like the closest person for me would be, knowing with the injuries and everything, I think like Breece Hall, Jefferson would be up there. I don't think Chase would be up there.
Where would Taylor be?
8.
Taylor would be top 10. I would say like 5 through.
Yeah, I think Saquon's the first pick, just hands down. I think
would you guys take CMC still or no?
No, knowing he's injured, no. I'm taking Saquon first pick.
Yeah, I agree. I think Saquon is contending for that first pick with like Jefferson and those guys. So
yeah, if he stays healthy, I think he's gonna be the first pick in every draft next year.
I think honestly, this offense can get better. Not like saying help Saquon out. Once AJ Brown, like I think talking about going off track for the Eagles, I think Hurts really missed AJ Brown a ton out there, and they really showed. Like, there's a couple balls to Devontae Smith where it's like, all right, that's not Batman. That's Robin out there right now. You need AJ Brown out there. So I think especially like once AJ Brown comes out, it's gonna help Barkley out a ton. Like, and I think Barkley can be even better than what he's already been good. And I think Barkley can be better once AJ Brown comes back.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
Next one, I think I was going to talk about the QBs. This Monday, there's 3 out of the 4 QBs. Trevor Lawrence, you're absolutely doo doo. 3 out of the 4 QBs had over 30 points or around 30 points. Josh Allen being one of them, 41 fantasy points, 263 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 4 rushing touchdowns. Burrow had 324 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and 4 yards rushing for about 30 fantasy points. Then we had Jane Daniels with 254 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 40 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. These QBs balled out today, besides one, which was T-Law. All these guys absolutely stud. This coming out of Jane Daniels, we all knew he can throw that outside ball. He, in LSU, he threw it up to Neighbors and Brian Thomas. In the NFL, they weren't doing that with him, but they did it today a little bit more with Terry McLaurin. All of these QBs just balled out today. What do you guys think about these QBs?
Yeah, I think Josh Allen looks like a QB1. I think he'll finish as a QB1 fantasy-wise. Burrow has a huge bounce back expected from Washington. Same what I said earlier about Chase. I feel like going this next week, we're just have to see what they do. I think they have versus Carolina. But, I mean, they're still a bad defense, but I just want to see if the connection's still there. I think the big surprise, Jane Daniels and this Washington team beats the Bengals, puts up 38 offensive points. I think he's a top 10 fantasy quarterback going forward, and you're starting him with his rushing upside. And now that we're seeing him gain a little connection on the passing game, yeah.
I wanted to draft Jaden Daniels in fantasy leagues. I was trying to target him, but I just never got around to getting him in any league, which is I'm kind of sad about that because I came in season like, all right, I have my dude at quarterback. It's Jaden Daniels. I want to get him. And I was actually never able to get him because I knew games like this would exist. I knew that the rushing upside was there. And I knew that he played 5 years in college, started and he has a lot of experience as a quarterback, which we really don't see out of a whole lot of prospects now coming into the league. So I was just a believer in him, and he's been balling out. And when it comes to like Josh Allen, no surprise, like he looked absolutely unstoppable in that first half. Obviously, like they slowed down because they blew him out. And then Joe Burrow against Washington, yeah, I mean, we already talked about that. No surprise there either.
Next, we're going to go into some duds of the week. Alex, you can start it off.
Yeah. These are just going to be quick. Anthony Richardson, 167 pass yards, 2 interceptions, 8 rushes, 24 yards. He has 4 points. Not too much to say. You're benching him. He's an every week bench going forward. Until he shows something, he's an every week bench. Start Jonathan Taylor on the Colts offense. I think that's pretty much it. I'm benching the quarterback. They just don't look good.
He still looks like a rookie, man. Like I said before, I said in a couple of podcasts ago, this is still his rookie season. He played 3 games last year. This was his 6th NFL start. Yeah, he's not producing, and he just looks bad. So,
yeah, after his first week, I was like, he had good. His volume, his passing volume was okay, and he had crazy many yards, but it's not going to be sustainable whatsoever, and it has not been the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just the next guy, we already mentioned the Niners. I mean, Ayuk, 10 targets, 5 receptions, 48 yards. He still can't catch the ball. We paid him a bag. Yeah, there's just not too much to say there. I mean, you still start him. But I think he'll get better going forward, but he just did not look good this week.
Is Ayuk a top 15 wide receiver or a top 24 wide receiver heading forward?
I'd say top 24. I'm not ranking him top 15 yet. He needs to show me something.
Top 24.
Yeah, I would say he's like 24.
All right. Yeah, moving to Isaiah's duds.
All right. I have a bone to pick with this guy. Mark Andrews, 1 target. Honestly, I don't even think it's the bone to pick with him. I think it's just the offense right now in general. He was only out there for 20% of the snaps. Kind of weird. They only threw the ball 15 times. Again, they ran all over the Cowboys. I want to know what percentage of snaps he was out there for the passing at least. I think that would show a different picture. They only threw the ball 25% of the time. So say if he was out there for 20% of the throwing downs and the rest there was running the ball and he wasn't out there, I think that's a little different than if he was out there with just 20% of the snaps. Like he got out-snapped by Patrick Card and Charlie, I think Culver was the guy's name. I don't even know the other white guy's tight end guy's name. For Mark Andrews, I don't know what is going on. 0 fantasy points. I don't know if I don't think he's still injured. Like if he is injured, he should show up on the report as being injured. So I feel like there's something going on with like he is literally. I mean, Zay Flowers I guess is doing good, but he's just getting hyper targeted. I think Mark Andrews can be. I don't know what's going on. What do you guys think?
Yeah, unfortunately, I would move him to the bench just with this snap share, 20%. Just don't know what to expect. I'm just going to bench him until I see something positive, but until then, I'm putting him on my bench.
Dude, this is so weird. 20% of the snaps for Mark Andrews, who is just a great tight end, is just absolutely insane. And it's not like the Ravens passed the ball anyways. I mean, Lamar had 15 attempts, yet he still finished as the quarterback 4. So that just goes to speak with what this Ravens team wants to do. They want to just run the ball every play. So, yeah, man.
I see him bouncing back. I'm not doubting yet. I know it's bad. Okay. Next is Ridley. Kevin Ridley. I've never been high. Ridley had 1.9 fantasy points. Any comments on Ridley?
I don't want to talk about it. As a Ridley stan, yeah, this one sucks, man. I don't really have anything to say.
I've been down low. I told you guys about Ridley. Mike Evans, bad week. 2 receptions, 17 yards, 3 targets. First Patrick Surtain. I'm not too concerned. He's a Hall of Famer. He's had 2 back-to-back dud weeks. I see him coming back. What do you guys think? Any comments?
Yeah,
I think he bounces back. I am a believer in Mike Evans. I just want to throw it out there. Mike Evans or Amari Cooper rest of the season?
Mike
Mike
Evans.
Evans. Yeah, Mike
Yeah,
Evans.
agreed. All right, just had to want to throw that out there.
I mean, if we see that Chris Godwin's actually the wide receiver 3 right now in PPR formats. So this team, I think, is going to support 2 top end receivers, just like we saw back in the old days with Jameis Winston throwing the ball to them. But yeah, man, going on to my duds, we're just going to kind of fire through these guys. Jameson Williams, 1 for 9 on 3 targets. 20 targets within the first 2 games and then having 3 targets in this game, that kind of sucks. I still can see him producing for fantasy, but he's going to be boom bust, which sucks, man. I was really hoping to see him just be consistent. And then, yeah, man, you guys have any thoughts about that before I move on to the next?
No.
Might do better with Laporta being hurt.
That's true. Laporta did get hurt in this game. He did get banged up a little bit. Another one of my players on my fantasy team, James Conner, coming out, mentioned him before, 9 for 17 with 1 catch for 8 yards. The Lions are just really, really good at stopping the run. Aiden Hutchinson, all those dudes up there are just really good. I think they're the best run stopping defense right now. So that's with no surprise. I didn't think James Conner was going to be elite, but I thought he was going to be better than this. So moving forward, I think he's still going to be better. Every tight end, I put down every single tight end who did terrible, which includes like almost everyone. Kelsey went 4 for 30. Bowers went 3 for 41. Pitts went 2 for 59. McBride went 3 for 25, which was very surprising. Laporta went 2 for 36 and got banged up. And then Isaiah Likely went 1 for 4. So these are dudes that you probably started. The one I was most surprised about was honestly Trey McBride. I thought Trey McBride was going to smash this week. I thought Trey McBride was going to come out and, put up 20 fantasy points, have a touchdown, but he just couldn't get it done this week. You guys have any thoughts about Trey McBride?
I'm not worried about him. I don't know. Let me pull up his targets real quick. I don't know how many targets he had. I'm not too worried about Trey McBride whatsoever. I mean, he had 6 targets. So I think Trey McBride and Brock Bowers are going to be the tight end 1 and 2 the rest of the season. I'm a Trey McBride fan. I think he's solid.
Yeah, I think McBride will be fine. Hopefully the tight ends get better, but yeah, you still got to start them because you can't not start a tight end.
Yeah, definitely. And then looking at the Dolphins as a whole, this team has 3 elite players and 3 elite players who did not do good in fantasy. Tyreek Hill went 3 for 40. Jalen Waddle went 4 for 26. Devon Achane went 11 for 30 on the ground with 3 receptions for 28 yards. And, I mean, to be honest, I was expecting this with Skylar Thompson starting, but not to this extent. I was thinking at least one of these guys would produce, but none of these guys produced. And it was just a really bad look. Skylar Thompson looked like he was shell-shocked. He looked so bad. I mean, there was that one play where it was like 4th down or 3rd down, and he was rolling out the pocket. He just like looked around and got blown up from behind. I was like, this is awful, man. This poor guy is just getting destroyed. He got hurt with like a rib. I mean, which is not surprising. He could just getting hit left and right. But we need Tua back for this offense to be good. What do you guys think?
You start Hill and Achane. You bench everyone else. I mean, Skylar Thomas is not the answer. They threw in Tim Boyle. Like, what's happening in this offense? I don't know. But
yeah,
I think they need to pick up the Mike White from
the
Bills practice squad.
Joe Flacco, Jameis Winston. They pick up someone, man.
We've seen Mike White sling it, gunslinger. Get him out there. So I think this offense would be. Yeah, I think that's just. None of these guys are. I mean, they're duds, but I think it was just Skylar Thompson is terrible.
Yeah, absolutely terrible. And then just one more quick little note. If you're playing a defensive league and you picked up the waiver wire streamer of the week, as in the Raiders defense, like myself, you got absolutely destroyed by Andy Dalton. This is embarrassing as a Raiders fan, and this is brutal because if I would have started the Bills defense, I would have won my fantasy week because the Raiders defense had negative fantasy points, which absolutely sucks, man. That is literally like a stab to the heart because, it's literally my own team not only losing to the Panthers, but also making me lose in fantasy. So how could it get any worse? I don't know. It was awful. And Andy Dalton we talk about Andy Dalton for a second? Because he is the only quarterback in the NFL to have 300 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. I don't know if I think Josh Allen might have done tonight.
No, he was close.
He was really close. But yeah, Andy Dalton's the only
quarterback. Was close too.
To have 303. I mean, what in the world? Like, what do you guys think? Like, what is happening?
My takeaway, I think Andy Dalton is the answer. I think Andy Dalton is the answer in Panthers. He has nothing to lose. He's a veteran quarterback going in there, just having fun. Bryce Young's going to get traded to the Dolphins. I do believe that. I think that's a good move. Get him out of there. But yeah, I mean, I think Andy Dalton looks great, and especially Deontay Johnson looks great. I think he is a flex option every week going forward.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a Bryce fan. I mean, I like Stroud more than Bryce, but I think Bryce, I don't know what he's like doing out there. If like Andy Dalton can come out here and like perform like this, I think Bryce should totally be able to do it. But I think it also shows like Bryce and Kyler are like the same height, and everyone loves like Kyler's good. Like everyone's like, this guy is awesome. Bryce is the same thing, and it's like, this guy stinks.
Dude, yeah.
And I think it shows bad. Yeah, I think it just shows like some people just can make it in this league and some people can't. And I think Bryce deserves a second chance, but I guess honestly, I guess we can say he does because we've seen Baker Mayfield revive his career. We've seen Sam Darnold revive his career. So I guess Geno Smith revived his career. So I think Bryce Young could still do it. So
yeah, I mean, if we look at Andy Dalton, he had 1 start last year, and he had 361 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then he comes in this start and has 319 yards and 3 touchdowns. So I mean, maybe we could stream Andy Dalton. Maybe, I don't know. I want to see it again. But I mean, this is just absolutely absurd. I was so pressed on Sunday just watching my Raiders
Red Rocket loose.
Watching my Raiders just get absolutely cooked by Andy Dalton. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
You see the video of the Raiders corner not making the tackle?
Yes, I've seen it all, man. I've
seen that was so bad. Where you were just standing there.
It just sucks, man. Like how this is like the narrative of the NFL. The Raiders beat the Ravens last week. They beat the Ravens and they came back to win, and then they come out against the supposedly worst team in the NFL, who are 0-2 and just get destroyed. So that's just like, you never know. It's any given Sunday.
It's the Ravens.
Yeah.
All right, and then we're just gonna give some. You guys are just gonna say contenders or pretenders. I'm gonna name 4 teams. The Minnesota Vikings.
Contenders. I like Sam Darnold. I like what Sam Darnold's doing right now.
I'll say contenders.
I say contenders too. 3-0 Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah. I think they're not contenders, but I think that they're going to make the playoffs because that's what they always do.
Okay, yeah. I think the Vikings are not contenders. I think the Vikings can make the playoffs. I'm going to say that. I think the same as the Steelers.
Dude, Mike Tomlin is just one of the best head coaches of all time, honestly. He's just so good. He's always in the playoffs. So
finds a way to win.
All right.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Bengals 0-3.
That's rough, man.
I don't think there's been a team to make the playoffs being 0-3. At least make the Super Bowl. I don't know if there's been a team to make the playoffs starting off 0-3.
But I'm still going to call that. I'm gonna call them still making the playoffs.
They got to win. I think they can wild card.
Yeah, I agree. And then we're the last team. We're Dallas Cowboys 1-2.
Not with this defense.
Yeah, they can't stop the run.
Absolutely cooked.
Because the thing about that, if they go through the Eagles, Saquon's running all over them. The Niners are running all over them.
Yeah.
The Seahawks would run all over them.
Yeah.
The Lions play them.
Bro. Literally everyone.
Lions would rush for 400 yards against them. Yeah. So I think they can't stop the run. They're cooked.
I think they're pretenders. I think it's just gonna be hard to dig them out of this hole. But I do think I'm gonna change. I think they're contenders. I think they get a win against the Giants this week, and I think they get something going. But all right, thanks guys for tuning in this episode, and we'll catch you guys on Friday.
See you guys.
Yep, have a good one.